Hello, wonderful people. Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the new EP from Getter, Napalm. Tanner Petula, aka Getter, is back with his first solo EP since 2016. Of course, in between that, we got his debut commercial full-length LP released on Mousetrap, Visceral, an album which saw Petula venture far from his usually remorseless, unforgiving dubstep style to go down more experimental and pop-driven routes, verging on indie. A collection regarded by many as his most complete and ambitious, and posing as a maturing of his style as well, but which also, thanks to those not enthused by the direction he'd taken on the album, inspired his darkest moment yet as a musician. Petula cancelling the subsequent tour of the album in April last year after being booed off stage, having stuff thrown at him at a couple of shows at the beginning of said tour, getting a lot of hate online to go with that. I could go further into it, but a very unpleasant moment, and I think out of respect for him, probably less said about it now the better. Since that announcement, he's released a fair amount under his rap alias Terror Reed, but when it comes to his original moniker Getter, he was practically silent, and fairly so, many would say. That was until February, when he dropped Represent, track 5 here on Napalm, which in many ways was heavy Getter in full flow, grisly beat, gnarly in feel, a jovial swing and bounce to it as well. I was a big fan, and if you want to know more on that, I would check my live review. I will link it right here. The inevitable question following that single release being, is Getter back? And 8 months later, the answer to that being Napalm. A collection that listens just as much like a continuous mini-mix as it does an EP. All 6 tunes here blending into each other seamlessly, and which has a couple of rocky moments here and there in the first half, but which ends up really coming into its own, functioning as a reminder of how much he offers when it comes to the heavier side of electronic music. It opens up with Entombment, a very distant, spacey opening, sounding like a mix of a spaceship landing on the moon and someone hitting a bong. And the hits of bass in this tune are just, oh my god, like they are fucking insane. A rare occasion, I think, of the grainy, overblown approach sounding good, because he never goes overboard. Just so fucking fat. I also like how it never properly picks up, the focus remaining those isolated hits of bass, the backdrop ticking away and winding away below, almost hypnotic in feel. The snares don't quite back up that fatness, but overall it's a powerful opening here, especially considering, there isn't that much going on. Following that, we have Bad Acid, which to me anyway is as nausea-inducing as the title makes out. Again, a bit of a snare issue here, falling a bit flat on that front, and to go with that, the whole instrumental just feels a bit uncomfortable and unsettling. That being said, I mean, if his intention was to make a song that feels like a bad acid trip, then he's done a very, very good job. The way it unnerves you and kind of makes you feel out of control. It's almost scary to hear, and it is an uncomfortable listen, but I suppose that's the point. After that, track 3, Clorox, continues to build tension with its extremely fraught build, really well done, and the heaviness here providing the first snippet of Getter really being unleashed. Nice affront to this drop without doing too much, the idea is quite straightforward, but this time, the backdrop is really clean to go with the fatness of the beat. Just a shame it's so short. I mean, they're all pretty short here, but this one especially, coming in at 1 minute 48. I just would have liked to hear more of it. Maybe we'll get a VIP at some point, who knows. So yeah, that first half of tunes, couple of little blips on show, but from there, as mentioned before, the EP really comes into its own. The savagery let loose even more in ADHD, which has a good flow and rhythm to it, providing a selection of different types of delivery, which is interesting to hear. With that comes a selection of different types of percussion, some of which work, some of which don't, but the variation in the overall approach keeps it ticking along well. Switch it up. And again. Then, and penultimately, we have Represent, which I enjoyed a lot in February, and I still do now. The swing and bounce of the drops, the industrial clang of it, the main vocal sample, the transition between sections, it's just really effectively done. Have to mention the development from one drop to another. The second one, just that bit gnarlier, wavier, more full sounding. Subtle differences, but expert. And to close, we have a nod to the more viscerally version of Getter with Hole in the Boat. Introduction here has a very natural, serene feel to it. You know, you can see the shimmering water, the birds chirping, the sun rising. It's a blissful picture. Becoming grander as it goes on with the choir-like vocals, organ sounds. It's just a rich opening all in all. A song which ends up sounding like a VIP of Numb from Visceral, you know, a bopping, low-key, house kind of number. Something you could hear on his Planet Neutral collection even. Not his most full production, but a good progression to it, and I like how it fades off at the end as well, giving a chance to reflect on the EP and his music generally. Hole in the Boat being a clever addition at the end after the heaviness, putting the darker side and the lighter side of Getter together in one project, you know, allowing them to coexist alongside one another. As if to say there is no distinction between these two approaches, the light and the dark. Bottom line, it's all Getter, and it'll always be just whatever he feels like making. The longest tune here as well, coming in at 3 minutes 12, leaving a lasting impact of sorts on an EP which is just a really neat little project in my opinion. One that grows into itself more and more as it goes on, his stamp being put on it increasingly over time. A couple of tracks I think showing him in full heavy flow in ADHD and Represent, which many will appreciate, whilst also making room for the lighter side of his production. Touched on it briefly before, but the way these tunes blend into one another, giving it a sense of story even though it's so short, is really well done. My only consistent drawback here being the percussion, which at points simply doesn't back up what's on top in a sharp enough way. It's the problem when your design is mostly really clean, you know, the drums become much more identifiable and therefore important in terms of the role they play. But generally, looking at a really tidy EP right here, undeniably short, but that could be it serving as a taster of what's to come. Will we see more like it? Who knows? Most importantly though, I think, it's just nice to have him back making music as Getter again. Assuming no one made him make the EP, and he wanted to do it, it's great that he's come back, you know, that alone warrants celebration. Providing both main sides of his production here, allowing us to appreciate both what he has done and what he can do going forward. Now in terms of my favourite here, then I'm gonna have to go with Represent, you know, just love that bop and swing, but of the new ones, I'm going to go for ADHD for the variety across it. And for recommendations, if you enjoyed the EP, not sure there's anything similar sounding with that kind of presence to it that I can think of. But yeah, if you have a suggestion, drop it below. For me, can't think of anything. But there we have it, my thoughts on the new EP from Getter. Napalm, that's what it was called. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. But yeah, what did you guys make of Napalm? Any track or tracks of the 6 you enjoyed in particular? Drop all of your views, thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video to the channel, and my social media accounts and the Discord server are linked below. And if you want to find some other EP reviews on the channel, I will link them right here. But beyond that, keep it naughty. If it's naughty, then you know. And I will see all of you legends in the next one. Peace.